It's not happy hour yet.
I need hydration.
So you crack open a shitty beer?
Yes.
Okay, makes sense. Welcome back to Dime Gaming Bros, where we only talk about horror games.
It's kind of true. The vast majority of our reviews have been horror games.
We need to change that. I cannot wait for the Gears of War and Uncharted reviews.
That'll be fun. Gears of War, Uncharted, and Borderlands. Next season's going to be great.
It's going to be spicy. By Borderlands 2, you're going to be like, I'm so sick of this. Why did I want to do this series?
Maybe. We'll see. Maybe I'll find a good soul connection with some random character and I'll love it. We'll find out.
Doubt.
Yeah, probably. So what have you been getting up to? Is it another horror game, maybe?
It is.
Is it in a series that you've recently been talking about a lot?
Yes.
Does it have the number 4 in it?
It does.
He plays a blonde.
Yeah, dirty blonde, I guess.
He's definitely a blonde.
Yeah. I played Resident Evil 4, the remake. It was developed and published yet again by the Capcom. Released March 2023 for PS4 and 5, Xbox X and S, Windows, iOS, and Mac OS. I don't know what the difference is. I just wrote down what Wikipedia said.
My favorite way to plagiarize. I've been known to do that.
I cited my source. I said the Wikipedia. Nice job bumping the table.
I got fat knees. What can I say?
The story follows Leon Kennedy. He must save the president's daughter, Ashley, from the Los Illuminados cult.
The Illuminati?
Yes. Leon meets friends and foes along the way as he kills townsfolk seemingly infected with a parasite. Possibly designed and bred for violence, maybe?
You mean like in the other 3 games?
He saves Ashley 4 or 5 times, but each time the cult kidnaps her back.
Princess Peach.
There's a bad guy that pops up, and Leon seems to have a history with him, but I don't recognize him at all. It was weird. I don't know. I probably should, but I didn't. For visuals, yet again, this remake is made in the RE engine, so it's possible this is the best looking Resident Evil game to date.
So that's the re-engine.
The re-engine.
Rengen.
Fire, smoke, gory monsters, they all look very good. I'm not gonna just keep saying the same things over and over and over again. The RE engine is amazing. Sound design is fantastic. I love being able to stand still and be able to hear what is happening in the room. If there are bad guys shuffling around unaware of my presence, Leon breathing heavy after a short jog despite being a super cool secret badass agent guy.
He should be able to do more cardio.
He can't run for shit, and it's very frustrating.
Is that an Alan Wake reference? You can hit me, it's okay. I accept my fate.
The cave with the spooky water dripping, or the old castle with the spooky creaking, the sound is immersive and enjoyable.
Speaking of water dripping.
Yes, the water drips down into my home. I basically live in a cardboard box.
Where is that actually coming from?
The chimney for the water heater thing.
Cool.
And I don't know why.
Weird.
It doesn't actually drip into the water heater, so I don't know what's going on.
Does it not have a cap?
I don't know.
You should climb on the roof.
No.
Little boy.
I don't want to get wet.
Then why did
Are you afraid of getting wet?
Then why did you watch Fallout with me?
There's one enemy in particular that sounds super cool. There are these bugs, very much like those camouflaged bastards in Jedi Survivor, that make a really cool bug-like creaking sound as they die a horrible, violent death. Very good. I hand wrote my review for this.
I needed you to bring back the notebook. It's been a long time.
It's 4 pages long. My hand hurt so bad.
Nice.
This whole weekend.
Very good.
After I angrily scrawled all my notes. Gameplay. Very early on in the game, you find a challenge posted by the stranger, the merchant, through the whole game, to shoot 5 blue decorations in the area. These are a carryover from the original Resident Evil 4. There are a bunch of these challenges, possibly more of them than OG, but I'm not sure. I didn't finish it. And I enjoyed them quite a bit.
Shiny.
That's like the only nice thing I have to say.
Oh, this is gonna be rough.
For gameplay, anyway.
Woof.
The merchant is changed a little. There's the stuff he sells for money, and then special things he sells for spinels. They were like a gem. I don't know if I'm even saying it correctly, but that's how I've been saying it these 2 months.
Shekels?
Nope, they're just a pretty pink gem. In OG, the spinels only sold for money, but in Remake, they sell for like cool scopes or what else were there? There was like there was a storage increase. There were different like charms you could put on the storage case that gave you different benefits, like weird things that you could only buy for the pink gems. And this is cool. I like it well enough. It adds variety, challenge, and interest in exploring, trying to find these spinels to buy the cool shiny thing that I can't get otherwise. The aiming mechanic is different in 4 than other games.
AKA not tank.
OG put a laser pointer on the pistol, and that's here as well. Rifles aim down sights or scopes, and this is okay to change, but I prefer Resident Evil 2, Remake 7, and 8 with the over-the-shoulder reticle that gets more precise the longer you aim and stand still. It's built into the engine, and I just like that very much because it adds tension, because you have to stand still and aim.
Meaning it emulates what the original 4 did, but not as literally, where you have to stop moving to aim. Kind of. Maybe? It's like a vibe thing.
Remake, you have to stop and aim, but the actual reticle that you, the player, are using is different.
Strange. I thought Remake just made you be able to aim and move at the same time.
No.
Weird.
You can't
I'm misremembering. I haven't played either one, so...
Resident Evil 4 is famous for taking survival horror and sprinkling action-adventure on top. This is evidenced by Leon being able to stun enemies and spin kick their face into next week. This is okay on paper. Remake adds a crossbow-like weapon, and at one point early on has a hallway full of enemies, and it teaches you that you can sneak up behind enemies and stealth kill them with one knife to the jugular.
But...
This is also okay on paper.
Yeah, but
the two ideas do not mix at all. Stealth is straight up broken. It doesn't work. Enemy detection is wonky. I quickly fully upgraded the damage on the crossbow, and it would still take 3 or 4 shots to get a kill, and every time I fired it, it alerted enemies in the area.
yeah, that's counterintuitive.
There were several times I used the sniper rifle instead, which makes a big bang when I shoot it.
And it didn't alert enemies.
I got a one-shot kill and kept stealth. It did not alert enemies. It's absolutely broken.
What the hell?
I'll get back to that later. The prompts for stunned enemies sucked. I've had a problem with this in 4 OG, and we've been dealing with it in 5, but I'm going to talk about it here now. Sometimes
a lot of issues with 5.
I'd run up and have to press X for a spin kick or right trigger for a knife kill. There was no way of knowing which prompt was required before getting to the guy, and the stun is on a short timer. So if you choose the wrong button, the bad guy would not be stunned anymore and often attacked me for a large amount of damage because I'm standing right in front of him. It was far safer to stay away and just shoot the stunned enemy. Also, I wish the stun timer was shown over the enemy instead of just a generic stun signal. I wish it had like the little logo of like, this guy is stunned, and it had like a spinning circle around it. I wish that spinning circle was like an actual countdown of like, you have... It makes perfect sense in my brain, yeah, but I'm not a game designer.
No, that would make sense. That makes sense. You know, Assassin's Creed does that, or did that, when it was good. So,
interesting.
You know, just to put out my limited information with the whole 10 games I played in my life.
Quick aside, level design suffers, quote unquote, like Doom Eternal. So much of it feels like hallway, arena, story bit, arena. The weapon upgrade system is weird. At the beginning of the game, the damage upgrades are notable, but about halfway through the game, upgrades are so expensive, when you finally get one, it's really hard to tell a difference. If you fully upgrade a weapon, you unlock the ability to master it. I don't know if that's the actual word, but that's it, whatever. You unlock the ability to master it, which is a special perk you can buy with in-game money and a special ticket. The only tickets that I saw in-game were for sale by the merchant for spinels. There were only 2. One was for 30 spinels and one was for 40 spinels, which is crazy. Most of the other special things were like 12, 15.
Jeez.
So they were really expensive. Or you can buy tickets with real world money for $2.
Ew, I didn't know that.
I'm sure there's a secret third way, but I didn't look into it. This is bad.
I agree.
Knives have durability, which you can...
Excuse me? What?
Which you can pay the merchant with in-game money to repair. But this is another way the stealth system is hot trash. The stealth kill cinematics, where you sneak up behind a bad guy and stab him in the neck, still wears down your knife by quite a bit, meaning your knife breaks.
Excuse me, is this a modern Zelda game?
The boss fight at the end of chapter 12 out of 16 total chapters is either broken or complete bullshit.
That's the one that I saw you get stuck on.
Let me tell you about it.
Okay.
So I didn't reach this part in 4 OG, and I was asking somebody at work what this boss fight is like, and he's like, the guy stands still and does a bunch of attacks that you need to run around the room and like not get hit until the guy pops out of the safety shell thing like a turtle, and you just shoot him until he's dead. I was like, wow, that's completely different from Remake. Remake, the guy in the castle that kidnaps Ashley for the 3rd and 4th time, is this short little Napoleon Bonaparte looking motherfucker. And Leon walks in the room and Napoleon's like, look at me, I'm such a cool guy despite being short and fat like Napoleon Bonaparte. And Leon shoots him in the head like 3 times and he flops over. And it's cool. It made me laugh the first time. And then the bad guy turns into the rumor weed from Larry Boy. He's just this big black venom monster with like a fat flower head at the end of it. So he's climbing the ceiling and walls very, very, very quickly with like this Napoleon corpse sticking out of a flower head.
This is the one I saw you get stuck on. You were so mad.
A venom wiggity woo tentacle monster thing.
You were so fucking mad.
He moves around the room very, very, very quickly and shoots these exploding blobs at you that you have to not walk into because they explode in your face, or he just pukes black goo at you that hurts very much, like kills you if you get hit by puke twice, or my personal favorite, he'll just get on the floor and run right up to you and grab you with a big lobster claw that kills you on one hit no matter how healthy you are. I tried several times, could not do it, could not even come close. No idea what I'm doing. Pull up YouTube, and you had to stand in certain spots and shoot down certain lanes within a quick time succession, or use a pillar, a gate in the middle of the room, and just run around that completely because the bad guy gets caught on the geometry. He cannot attack you around the pillar. So he'll like either try to attack you through the pillar, which doesn't work because of game geometry, or he'll run around and you just wait for him to get back down and you just shoot him from... It's broken. It's stupid. It's awful.
Weird.
Very bad.
Sounds it. But at least you had the courage to plow through it.
I gave it one last chance because I looked up YouTube how to do it, and I got it on the first try. If I didn't, I was uninstalling the game.
Oof.
It was bad. Very, very bad. This is an unconfirmed conspiracy.
Oh, boy.
Hear me out.
I love these.
At the very least, it feels like enemy health and damage taken is a dice roll. Sometimes it takes 7 or 8 perfect headshots, and sometimes only 1. I honestly wonder if it's a designed built-in system to give the player bad rolls intentionally to wipe out their inventory. When the level design is so predictable, it helps build the feeling of like, what the fuck? I didn't have any space left in my inventory when that encounter started, and now every single gun is empty. I have nothing. I have nothing. It's more than a coincidence. I don't have a better word for it, but it feels like the game has systems made to spite the player. That was just the feeling the whole time I played this game. The first level has Leon being chased through the woods where there are bear traps hidden in low shrubbery and trip mines you can't hear when so many villagers are yelling to get him or you. And this is in the original, but in the original the shrubbery is very thin. You can see the traps if you're looking for it. Whereas Remake has all the pretty graphics.
Shiny.
And you can't see the stupid fucking traps.
I love watching you lose your shit. It brings me joy.
The feeling is intensified even with basic horror game tropes. There's one part with a new enemy type for the story, not for the game series, that can only be killed if you break through 3 secret weak spots that you can only see with the right scope, which means you need ammo. So it's got like a thermal scope on it, and you can see the 3 like parasites that are inside his body, and you have to shoot and kill those, otherwise he keeps regrowing. Basically, you can't kill the enemy that's in this room because you just got the scope and you don't have enough ammo or whatever. You have to throw a lever to unlock a door, and that changes the path back to that door, which conveniently means you have to run past that enemy again instead of running around him because the room changed. Resident Evil 4 hates you as a player. It makes playing the game a chore and unenjoyable, especially with a story that feels stretched out. Ashley legit gets kidnapped back 4 times at least. I lost count. It's like, I saved you, now we have to escape. Oh, they took her again, now I have to save her. Over and over and over and over again. Basically, and this is my out that I told you I'm so excited for. I thought this up myself.
Okay.
I'm so smart. The core gameplay loop is uninteresting to me. I don't enjoy the combat of the game, which changes and obviously increases in difficulty as the game goes on. Enemy variety changes to keep things interesting visually and maybe for strategy, but when damage feels randomized, I just don't enjoy the gameplay loop. The game is beautiful. It's a good game. It's not for me.
So less enjoyable than playing 4 original. Admittedly, you didn't finish that one, but you seem to understand the logic that went into it more.
No, it feels very much the same.
Oof.
I would play a remake again because it's pretty at least, and there's, you know, the cool challenges by the merchant, and there's I wouldn't say puzzles, but I guess the encounters are more interesting. But I really don't want to play this game again.
Yeah, you've spent like 6 weeks, 8 weeks on this. It's been a while.
It's been a long time, and I have not enjoyed the most favoritist game of the Resident Evil series. I can't wait for 7. That's my favorite.
Yeah, best of luck, sir.
Spoilers.
Sure. Stinky.
Yep.
Not good.
Nope.
That sucks. It's really weird because I think not just because 4 is so like loved by the fan base or whatever, but like 4 remakes seem to get a really good reception outside of the Resident Evil community. Just it was a really good remake that changed some stuff.
Yep.
But it was really good, and
a lot of the changes are good changes
on paper.
But I don't know. I'm cursed. I don't know. I don't like Resident Evil 4.
Weird. This is strange. I genuinely thought you were gonna, like it.
Yeah, me too.
Strange. You know what else is strange that I didn't think I was going to enjoy?
Ooh, because you're stupid.
Yes. Fallout.
Yeah.
From Amazon Prime. Holy shit.
I'm gonna go straight into spoilers. You ready?
Fuck no!
Yeah, no, it's a good spoiler. Because I told you I was gonna do this before I even hit play on the first episode.
I'm sure you did. I don't remember. That was like a week ago.
There was not a single time when 2 characters are talking inside of a building and a car clips through the wall behind one of the characters. 0 out of 10, the show is shit. Not an actual Bethesda property.
That's true. So we follow...
But besides that, it's on par with The Last of Us. I put it in S tier. Easy.
It's close.
S tier.
I'd say high A.
Nope, you're wrong. You're being cringe.
Bird.
High A. Get out of here.
Hey. Okay, so I would say, to defend that opinion before getting into it, I do think most of that is my preference of genre and presentation, primarily, more than anything else. But I do feel as though Fallout has, it does just flatly have a cliffhanger ending, sort of. So that alone...
Really?
It does. It does.
It's not a cliffhanger. It ends in a good spot.
I'm not saying it doesn't, but it clearly ends with massive setup for the next, whatever. Which Last of Us doesn't do. Last of Us, because it's a borderline 1-to-1 adaptation, ends where the first game ends. Like, on the button. It's just, oh, shit. And then it ends. And, that's...
Meh.
I don't know.
Meh.
I think a few more of some of the visual effects are not on the same level as Last of Us, but they're also working with different ballparks. Because Last of Us is a lot more...
A lot smaller.
It's smaller. The general scale, not the literal scale of how much physical distance the show takes place over, but a lot of the costuming is a lot less over the top. A lot of the designs are a lot less over the top. So it is mostly a preference thing. If I'm gonna be lay cinema sins brained about it, I notice the green screen more. I know. I'm just saying, if I'm gonna nitpick, I notice the green screen more often in Fallout. But also, I don't really care. I'm not actually making that a real criticism. I'm just saying
you're wrong.
I respect Last of Us more, but Fallout was very, very fucking good. So we follow Lucy, who is the daughter of the overseer of Vault 33, a vault we haven't been in before in the series, that I'm aware of anyways. Twain. And then the show basically opens up with her getting married to a random schmuck from a nearby vault. Turns out they were raiders.
Whoa.
That's not good. And then her dad gets kidnapped, and then she goes out of the vault to find him. And a lot of shit happens. I was arguably more interested in the B plot than the A plot. The A plot was really good.
I think it's 100% intentional. It's how you play any Fallout game. Alright, so eventually, the story is over when you finish this mission. But come on, you're not here to do that. You're here to get sidetracked with all the side quests. Go to this town and figure out why there's a cannibal keeping kids in the basement.
I mean, isn't that something along the lines of what the ghoul said? The golden rule in the Wasteland is getting distracted by random bullshit or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of true. So it follows 2 major plot lines. One is following Lucy in the Wasteland. I kind of 3. Lucy in the Wasteland, also the ghoul in the Wasteland, who's not a ghoul, a known creature in this universe, but the ghoul. He's the guy. He's him. He is him. And also jumping back in his timeline. And then the B plot is... I can't even remember the character's name.
Maximus?
No. That's the A plot. Yes, it is. No, the B plot is in Vault 33 with Lucy's brother, whose name I don't remember, unraveling mysteries and shit. And then at the end, they do the thing where plot lines intersect, and it's like, oh, it's all the same plot. Holy shit.
Wow.
This was a really solid 8 episodes. I'm glad they didn't milk it for more, because this would have been really easy to drag out. But it wasn't. A lot of shit happened in every episode.
Yeah, it feels like it's wrapped up very, very well. There's not much left over.
I mean, I still think it's a pretty big cliffhanger, but it's not unsatisfying. It's just clearly they were confident they'd get another season.
It all came together, and everything leading up to this point, you know where it is and where it was, where it ends. It's good. It's complete.
Sure. I think the visual effects were very good.
Visuals are very good. The gore is good.
Yes.
I heard something about an interview where I think it was Jonathan Nolan himself was like, I didn't just want gore for gore. I wanted weird, like, not realistic gore.
Yeah, he was saying...
I don't want someone just hit by a car, because that happens every day. I want someone getting shot through the neck with an arrow, because that's weird.
Right. I think that interview came out before the show did, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like... The gore is very well done, whether practical or digital, but, like, it's... While still gross very frequently. Like, it's so over the top that it's not, like, unsettling.
It makes you go, ew, as you're smiling, because it's weird and fun.
Right. Which I do think it handles really well. I'm very impressed by that. Except the giant axolotl. That made me actually... Like, that... It was episode 3.
I don't know why this is your trigger.
I don't know either, but I had, like, a full spine tingle, like, fucking weird shit going on. It was gross.
It looks like one of the dragons from How to Train Your Dragon.
Sure.
The black one that has, like, the big smile and the big eyes and whatever.
The big kitty.
Yes.
Yeah, but that also has the little, like, intestine thingies on the inside of its mouth, and that's gross. Fuck you. It was gross. I don't know why. I can't explain it. It made my body do things. It's really funny.
The comedy, if it was written by anybody else, would be painful. But it actually hits.
Yeah.
I don't know what the secret sauce is, but it's funny in this show.
It's probably a combination of the delivery and the comedy, because of the vast majority of the jokes. So, like, this is very... irony, double entendre type comedy dialogue, but unlike a la Borderlands, where the characters are aware they're saying something fucking stupid, pretty much every character takes the lines of dialogue seriously.
Of naivety.
Right, whereas Lucy says, we're gonna go find the head like 18 times, but after you hear it, you're like, that's a dick joke. At least I interpret it as a dick joke. But the actor and the character are taking it seriously, so like
right after they were talking about having the sex. Like, there's no way. Right?
Right, like the character... It's not the character being like, haha, he's right behind me, because I know he's right behind me. Actually, that's not good. That's bad. It's like, just people being dumb, I guess? I don't know. There's a level of obliviousness to some of the characters, which I think works really well. Particularly with Lucy, but I think across the board. Also, a lot of the gore is just funny.
I am impressed by how much beans are in this show. There's a lot of politics.
Holy shit, Fallout's political? Fallout's never been political before.
Yeah, but it can be downplayed in the games quite a bit, and it's not in this at all. I think it goes pretty hard on this, and it's very enjoyable.
I think that's more on the ball.
Yes.
I think some of the other games go as hard, but they're either because of, like, the...
It feels wishy-washy in some games.
I would say more just the sheer amount of time you spend in a game. Like, New Vegas is, like, 25 hours to a lot more. Yeah. I'm saying, like, story completion-wise. Yeah. Whereas this is 8-ish.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's very... Because it's condensed and it doesn't have to deal with you making story choices that the writers didn't want you to make, it doesn't have to try to contextualize that. Whereas it just has characters who really act as very good vessels of, like... certain types of worldviews, not as like they don't feel like caricatures. They are, but like they still feel like people. But it also feels like I know a guy like that, and it feels really in line with a lot of the choices they make. When you can see in the show when they pull up the character wheel and they make a stupid fucking decision, you're like, oh, I knew that was gonna happen. I think that makes it very enjoyable. Also, just the show agrees with me, so I feel great and very vindicated, obviously, because I'm me. You know how it is. But also. It's good.
I also like...
It's coherent.
it's not even real world politics, but like the political backstabbing or intrigue inside of the vaults of like who's going to be the next overseer, what does democracy look like in a vault, blah 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 blah.
I would say the way that
I guess not real life politics, but it
how the different factions function,
the relationships between the fictional groups in the show.
Right, whereas like certain factions are more emblematic of X, Y, and Z kind of ideological camp, it still feels like the characters make decisions within that Venn diagram world that they're allowed in, and there's variance. Also because by the time the show is over, half the characters are like, fuck the group I was with before, actually they're retarded. That helps too. There's a lot of...
When I was looking for I was saying like the Game of Thrones politicalness of like the intrigue of, ooh, if I kill this guy, then I will become ruler. Like,
well, I mean, I wouldn't say that that's complicated, but I enjoyed it.
Yes,
it's done.
There's that element of political to it as well.
Yeah. I don't know. Walton Goggins, a person I respect, who I like. I always like Walton Goggins. He's just one of those guys. But also, I kind of don't like the vast majority of his roles. He plays such a caricature of himself almost every single time. Like, you hire Walton Goggins to be Walton Goggins, and he fucking kills this role. He's arguably the better protagonist of the show, because there's more...
He is Ed Harris from Westworld.
That's true.
That's all I could see.
Yeah, pretty much.
But he's good.
Yeah. He has arguably more screen time than everybody else combined, because he takes place in 2 time periods, but also it does a really good job of making him a very antagonistic piece of shit in the current timeline, and then about halfway through the show, when it gives you enough context, you're like, okay, he's still a dirtbag, but I understand where, like, how he got there, which is frankly like basic, understandable, sympathetic villain type shit, but still, like, a lot of shows fuck that. Every Marvel show fucks that up really bad, where they're like, wow, look at this very understandable, relatable villain, and then they kill babies, and you're like, wait, what? He feels ideologically consistent throughout the whole show. There's just more context given, which I thought was pretty cool. Also, I think just going into a potential next season, I think him and Lucy together make a good dynamic. It's kind of one of my only like real complaints is I wish I got more of them in a room together. Like, it was like 2 episodes that they were like neck and neck right there, you know. A lot of the rest of it was them on different...
I want more.
...parts of quest. Yes, I want more. This kind of floored me.
The good ending. This is what I was hoping for.
It also makes sense as a next chapter in the Fallout series, because it's such a weird series of varying quality and gameplay quality.
I knew a decent amount of the lore and like what was happening behind the scenes with all the vaults and whatever, but I think this is the most in-depth we've ever seen, where there's like an actual boardroom of people like, no, actually we're gonna nuke the country. What are we gonna do about this? That was really, really good.
Yes, it's very good. I wouldn't know, so I've played New Vegas and 3, which are the 2 better ones. At least the 2 better Bethesda ones, or Bethesda licensed ones, or whatever. But like, I don't have that context, and it still felt pretty coherent for me to understand. Also, because the realm of beans is up my fucking alley, so I can kind of just...
Really?
Yeah, I know, right? So I can just kind of... I got a good intuitive gut sense of where shit's going, you know? Because I'm smart and cool and stuff. I just have a fat...
So what you're saying is you read the real life news?
Basically.
Wow.
Sadly, I read newspapers. But that was pretty cool.
Dog meat.
There was a dog meat.
Dog meat is a good boy.
I hope that they have the same dog, play the same dog in next season.
I hope so, because he was a good boy.
Wasn't that much of it. I thought there'd be more.
Yeah.
It's only like 2 episodes, but whatever.
Needle drops.
Left
and right everywhere, but still good.
And really good. Yeah. And not like modern songs that sound vintage. No. Like, it was a lot of very tiny
old school
50s
stuff.
and 60s music, which was really well done. That must take a lot of research to get like
Jonathan Nolan just listens to old school vinyl all the time.
I can believe it.
Yeah, me too.
But he's not the editor, so I don't know if that was his call, but you know.
He's just sucking down a ciggy like, no, you need to throw the kinks in there.
I think
Throw
good.
a Buddy Holly song on. I know just the one.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's really good.
S tier.
It's right on the line.
You are the gay man.
I am more likely, I think, to revisit it willingly than The Last of Us, which we talked about earlier. Yeah. I want to revisit The Last of Us soon because it's been a while.
This was my idea. I've been wanting to rewatch The Last of Us on a TV because I watched most of it on a phone. And I want to see it actually look good on a wide screen. But I also don't want to get punched in the balls. My emotional tenders.
What, you mean
like
you don't
The Last of Us does.
You mean you don't want to watch an episode and being attempted to be raped and then burned alive?
Fallout is a fun viewing. And it's fun and funny. And it's just...
It's not light, but
I was
it's
on the
more
cusp
light.
of saying that.
By comparison,
it's not light, but it's a lot easier to view.
I would say it's more of a dramedy. Whereas Last of Us is just a straight up drama in a fantasy setting.
There's a lot more one-liners that make you think ooh, wow, that's really good, and it means a lot because blah 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 blah. Whereas Last of Us is we're gonna shoot a guy in the face because he tried to steal our can of Spam.
That's true. I really should go back to that. Oh.
We should do the news instead.
I agree.
From Kotaku.com. Batman Arkham Shadow is a new entry in the beloved comic book Metroidvania beat-em-up series, though it's not what many players were probably hoping for.
You can say that again.
It's not what many players were hoping for.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that I will explain. It's being made in VR and will be exclusive to the Meta Quest 3 headset. So 1, not many people have VR. 2, not many people care for the metaverse because it's Facebook cringe. So
the last
go fall in a hole and put your shoe up your ass.
Yeah, the last they did another VR game after Night came out for PSVR 2, I believe. And that was pretty good, but it was still a VR game.
VR game.
Right. But it was on a way more popular platform.
It's scheduled to release in late 2024. The game is being developed by Camouflage with a J. It's spelled wrong. Which made Iron Man VR, which I heard nothing about when it even came out.
Yeah, me neither. I think that was debut for the PlayStation VR, and that was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Oculus Studios. That's pretty much all we know about the surprise reveal at this point. A brief teaser trailer shows pretty much nothing. Blah, 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 blah. No word yet about a deluxe version. When it comes out, blah, blah, blah.
The one thing I think that's going for this.
Oh?
It was promoted shortly after the announcement trailer. When the trailer does look good. It's a teaser, but
it's
whatever.
A cinematic.
Yeah, I know.
That really doesn't show much.
But I like Roger Craig Smith. Was my point. It's not Kevin Conroy because he has passed.
Yes.
And for another canonical Arkham series game, Roger Craig Smith fucking killed Origins with he beat it to a bloody pulp.
Oh, that's the guy that I didn't even know wasn't the guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a good Batman.
He's a good
really
guy.
Good. I think he's worked on a couple of the animated projects, but
Probably.
Yeah, he promoted the trailer immediately afterwards and confirmed that was his voice. And he
wow.
It's still lame because this now takes place after Night and before Suicide Squad Kill the Cringe Deluxe Triple Deluxe Gold Edition game bullshit. But, I mean, maybe there's some lore nuggets in it by the time it's over. Maybe. I'm trying to be optimistic.
It's after Arkham Knight or Gotham Knights?
Gotham Knights is in a different universe.
Is it?
Yes. We argued that it should have been in that universe, and just Kill the Justice League should have been in some other shit, because tonally it makes more sense. But no, Gotham Knights is not canonical to the Arkham universe, which is lame because it ends in almost the exact same way.
Incredible.
But no, I don't know. That's the only thing that has me I don't have VR. I'm not going to play this.
Nope.
But I will check out the YouTube gameplay of it, and I'll be like, wow, Roger Craig Smith is really good.
Wow.
That'll be it. There's going to be nothing in this.
Nope.
It's a shame.
Yep.
From Variety.com, critically acclaimed indie video game Dredge, like dredging the poop deck. No, the poop deck's up higher in the boat. Not the poop deck. What's the bit in the bottom of the boat? Mm-hmm. You dredge it. Mm-hmm. What's that called? I don't remember what it's called. It's where the rats live. You work on boats. What is it called?
I'm not at work right now.
Fuck you!
I don't have to remember work words.
True. Is getting the film treatment. Black Salt Games has partnered with production company Story Kitchen to create a live-action feature adaptation of the single-player Lovecraftian fishing adventure with a sinister undercurrent. In the game, players are invited to sell their catch, upgrade their boat, and dredge the depths for long-buried secrets as they explore a mysterious archipelago and discover why some things are best left for gore. Take control of a fisherman and his boat. Users explore a collection of remote isles and their surrounding depths to see what lies below. Selling the day's catches to locals unearths more information about each area's troubled past, but darkness ushers in the night's worrisome eldritch horrors. The film's official logline reads, "Think The Sixth Sense on the water. A grounded atmospheric cosmic horror blend of H.P. Lovecraft and Ernest Hemingway." I have not played this game, and I had not heard of it, and when this announcement came out, it got my attention. And then I went and looked at the game, and it looks fucking amazing.
Wow.
I'm going to play this game.
Wow.
Very soon.
That's good.
Doing Lovecraft on screen is never really a great idea,
Nope.
but they're describing it as more of a lore dump, basically. Which sounds like a better idea. If you're gonna get into the eldritch goobity-goo, outer gods goo-goo stuff, then not showing it on screen and being like, there's other shit out there, is much better. So, like, I don't know. The game is really low-key. Like, there's no action sequences. It's pretty chill. So, that seems to work. I don't know. That's cool.
Sorry for poor English. Where were you when Witcher was killed?
Witcher is kill.
Thank fuck! I was on the couch. The phone rang. Witcher is kill.
No!
From Deadline.com, The Witcher is coming to an end. The show announced today on X that Netflix, with an X, has picked up a 5th season of the fantasy adaptation, which will be its last. It's official, The Witcher Season 4 is in production, but that's not all. We're already planning Season 5, which will be the final season, and bring this epic show to a fitting conclusion. See you on the continent. Capitalize T, capitalize C, the continent.
Yes.
Netflix confirmed. As we previously reported, Season 4 will feature new lead Liam Hemsworth, who takes over the role of Geralt from Henry Cavill, who exited at the end of Season 3. After the shocking continent-altering events that close out Season 3, the new season follows Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri, who are faced with traversing the war-ravaged continent and its many demons apart from each other. If they can embrace and lead the groups of misfits they find themselves in, they have a chance of surviving the baptism of fire, which is the title of a book, and finding one another again.
I actually think this is a good idea. They're filming the 2 seasons back to back. And I think we talked about this off air. I have a conspiracy theory.
You keep talking about things off air, and then you get mad when I say, don't do this.
Sorry, I like talking to you. I know it's...
Ugh!
So, as the biggest Henry Cavill simp on the planet...
True.
I defend all of his actions that I'm aware of on production sets.
No, guys! Warhammer actually isn't cringe!
I mean, Warhammer isn't cringe. I'm not into it, but it's not cringe. But... despite all the weird, half-baked, non-controversy stuff about him being on set and basically arguing with the showrunners and the writers all the time, there is a potential that Season 4 and 5 will be better than at least Season 3, which was pretty fucking rough. Because Liam Hemsworth is far less likely to be arguing with people on set all the time. Well, I never heard any legitimate Henry Cavill's being a weird sexist pig or anything. It was just he's argumentative because he's actually read the books and he's into this shit. That can still cause a lot of production problems if you're arguing over details on the day. And I would argue he's probably in the right on that, and I'm not going to complain about costing Netflix more money to fix something by any means. But there's just a potential that this could turn out better. Not that Liam Hemsworth will be better in the role, but the show will be more...
coherent?
Yes, coherent, which is especially what Season 3 struggled with. Also, I just think it's a good idea to wrap it. 1 and 2 were kind of on the same level, but with different problems, and then 3 and Blood Origin were fucking kind of hot shit. So, I don't know. it's probably a good idea to kind of end it.
Yes.
Don't milk it forever.
No.
But also, Baptism of Fire reference. So, I don't know. Anyway,
Meh.
makes sense.
We'll see.
More than anything else, it just kind of makes sense.
I'm not putting my monies on this one.
The first season came out in like 2019, so it's been a while.
Long time.
Yeah. I feel old. From AmazonStudios.com.
Speaking of Fallout.
True! That's exactly why I wanted to do it in the order that we did. Following the show's phenomenal debut, Amazon Prime announced that it has renewed its latest hit series, Fallout, for a second season. The series comes from Kilter Films and executive producers Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. Nolan directed the first 3 episodes. Geneva Robertson-Dwart and Graham Wagner serve as executive producers, creators, and co-showrunners. That's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. In its first 4 days, the high-octane fueled series has become a hit with its global audience, ranking among the service's top 3 most-watched titles ever, and the most-watched season globally since Rings of Power. The debut season of Fallout premiered exclusively on Prime on Wednesday, April 10th, in more than 400, Jesus, I'm dyslexic today, 240 countries and territories worldwide.
It's still at number 2.
Jonah, Lisa, Geneva, and Graham have captured the world. Captivated the world with this groundbreaking wild ride of a show. The bar was high for lovers of this iconic video game, and so far we seem to have exceeded their expectations while bringing in millions of new fans to the franchise. Thank fuck, something good is getting continued instead of canceled. If this was Netflix, it would have gotten canceled.
Imagine having a show better than the games.
Yeah. As a Halo fan, I'm mauling right now. I'm shitting myself and being mad about it, but it's true.
From IGN.com, it's a golden age for the underworld in Star Wars Outlaws. Join Kay, Vess, and Nyx to navigate your way through the galaxy's crime syndicates and buy back your freedom. Star Wars Outlaws is available August 30th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, X, and PC.
So I actually didn't include the text because I forgot how to do that because I'm stupid.
Wow.
It was the story trailer for this game. Which I
don't think I even watched it.
I told you to watch it.
I know, I watched everything else. Eat my nuts. I saw the teaser trailer from a long time ago and said, wow, that looks like it could be cool.
Yeah, the story trailer was fine. The graphics look solid. For an Ubisoft game is kind of impressive.
Yep.
A lot of the details that have been coming out about this, I legitimately could not find 1 or 2 articles that kind of condensed all the bullshit down to a reasonable amount of text. But it looks like a lot of crap is hid behind a season pass and blah, 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 blah.
A season pass for a single-player game?
Yes. But at least the graphics look shiny, and it might launch working, which is better than we can say for Jedi Survivor. So I'm just, not like I want to play Ubisoft Defense, they're my worst enemy, but I don't think this is going to be bad. More than anything, I think it'll have a lot of problems, but I don't think this game, especially when like the dust settles, will be remembered poorly. It'll be functional, it'll be fun, it looks pretty good, the story looks pretty interesting, but it will have some monetization problems, and so on, you know? Like Squadrons. Squadrons was released as a whole package and without monetization issues, but nobody fucking talks about it anymore, even though it came out like 4 years ago and was really good.
It was really good.
But like, it just kind of came and went. I think this might be close to that in terms of like cultural impact. I don't think it's going to get a sequel.
We'll see.
Prediction.
August 30th.
I'm not pre-ordering it, but
No.
unless it launches like shit, I might buy it by the end of the year.
Wow.
I said might. I said might. It's a Ubisoft game, so I don't want to. From Kotaku.com.
This one hurts me personally.
True.
I'm very upset.
Last month, Take-Two announced it was rationalizing its pipeline by cutting hundreds of jobs and canceling $140 million worth of in-development projects. Today, which was like a week ago, it moved ahead with shutting down the studios behind Kerbal Space Program 2 and Ollie Ollie World, Bloomberg reports. I would have used the Bloomberg article because they're a very good source, but they fucking monetized their shit, so I don't have a subscription to them, so fuck them in the ass.
Wow.
So I use Kotaku. An employment notice filed in Washington State, first reported by game developer, revealed that Take-Two was planning to lay off 70 people in Seattle, where Intercept Games, maker of the Space Sim Kerbal Space Program 2, is based.
Kerbal.
Kerbal.
No, it's Kerbal.
Kirby. Who is a ball? Bloomberg reports that a noted oh my gosh. Bloomberg reports that a note delivered to staff at Roll7 in London confirmed that they were getting laid off as well.
Oof.
Both studios were part of Private Division, Take-Two's publishing label for smaller and more bespoke games. Quote, the label continues to make updates to Kerbal Space Program 2 and plans to release Weta Workshop Game Studios' Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, that's a long title, in the second half of 2024, end quote, which is the Stardew Valley ripoff, but in Middle-earth, which looks fucking awesome. A spokesperson for Take-Two told Game Developer in a statement, layoffs are stinky and I don't like them, and also I wanted to include this because you reviewed 2 of their games.
I have played every Ollie game. I played the Ollie 1 and 2 and World, and I like all of them, and I want more. This is very sad.
It's also the studio. For some reason, it wasn't in every paragraph, but they also made Roller Drome too.
Yeah, they made Roller Drome, and I want to say they did My Friend Pedro, but I could be wrong.
I just, I felt spiritually necessary to include it for your soul.
Thank you.
Layoffs are gay.
It's very sad.
Yeah. Haha, you get the dense one with names that us racist Americans can't say well.
That you autistic American can't read because you're dyslexic.
I am dyslexic sometimes. Which is weird because I was the kid in Sunday school who could always say all the biblical names.
Right.
So I don't know where that skill went.
So you can only read the Hebrew names.
That's
Congrats.
Thanks.
From comicbook.com. From Software boss Hidetaka Miyazaki has confirmed that Shadow of the Erdtree will be the only expansion that Elden Ring ends up receiving. While fans have yet to even experience one piece of DLC for Elden Ring, some have already started to wonder if From Software would look to create more expansions in the future after the arrival of Shadow of the Erdtree in June. To that end, Miyazaki has already shot down such an idea and has verified that Shadow of the Erdtree will be the first and last piece of DLC. In an interview with Chinese publication Zhihu, Miyazaki opened up about why there are no plans for any other expansions in Elden Ring. He explained that, like the base game, those at From Software felt it would be better to have Shadow of the Erdtree to be one massive, sprawling area to explore. By splitting the DLC into smaller chunks, this would have limited the sense of adventure that many have found Elden Ring to have. There's a quote, Elden Ring emphasizes exploration and adventure in a big world, Miyazaki says. In order to provide such an experience, a vast and huge setting is inevitably needed. Therefore, instead of splitting it into several parts, it was better to simply make one big expansion. If they were sold separately, the freedom of exploration and sense of adventure would be reduced. Despite confirming that Shadow of the Erdtree would be the only expansion for Elden Ring, Miyazaki didn't close the door on returning to this world in the future. While he didn't outright say that Elden Ring 2 would be the next game that From Software makes, Miyazaki said that it's important for the studio to leave the door open to such a return. To that end, publisher Bandai Namco Entertainment surely hopes that Elden Ring 2 is next on tap, given that the original game has already sold nearly 25 million copies worldwide. I don't think they will do Elden Ring 2 next because they've never done that before. They've always gone, no, fuck you, we're going to actually do a Sekiro.
Where Bloodborne 2.
Exactly.
It's been 10 years!
Everybody's been wanting Bloodborne 2, and that's why it was funny when From Software said, but Sekiro.
I think it's good, though, on the whole. There's 2 Miyazakis that I know of, and one of them is the Ghibli guy, and one of them is the FromSoft guy, and they both seem equally based and cool.
Yes.
And old.
Yep.
No offense intended, but old.
Good guys.
Yes. It makes sense. Wow, we wanted to include all our shit in one expansion, and then we'll maybe come back to this later. Wow, what an idea. To be fair, Dark Souls didn't do that with all of their games. Either 2 and 3 had, I believe, 2 expansion packs each. They were smaller than what it looks like this one's going to be, but
yeah, you're right.
It makes sense to learn.
2 had the snowy world and the underwater world, and then 3, I don't remember.
Yeah. Makes sense though, with just one big expansion, especially because Elden Ring is already so big. You want the expansion to proportionally match how big the game is, not just be as big as the previous expansions.
I want to say 3 had a dragon world and something else, maybe an ice world again. I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
I just think it's cool.
Yep.
But yeah, we're Bloodborne 2. Also, he said One Piece. I was going to try to interrupt you, but I thought that would be rude. But he'd said One Piece very early on, and I was going to make a One Piece joke about it.
That's racist. It's only because he's Japanese that you're tying him to a manga.
From Kotaku.com.
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts, Square Enix's Disney/Final Fantasy crossover, has been around so long it's surprising we haven't gotten some kind of animated series or film before now. That is true. Things got close at one point about 20 years ago. I didn't know that. And you can find a rough animatic of the pilot featuring the original game's voice talent. But according to the rumor, something on a much bigger scale might be in the works over at Disney, an animated theatrical film. The source of this is Disney-centric outlier, the Disinsider.
Outlet, the Disinsider.
What did I say? Did I say inlet?
The outlier.
Oh, I'm stupid.
Yep.
Shush. Site founder Skylar Schuler wrote about the Kingdom Hearts movie in a mailbag post, saying sources had told the site a film adaptation of the crossover RPGs could be heading to theaters in the future. The project started as something that would be released on the Disney Plus streaming service, but the Disinsider, it sounds funny. I don't know why.
Kind of stupid.
I kind of like it though. Says that more recently it had heard the goal was to have something on the big screen. This lines up with another report from film industry insider Daniel RPK, who claimed a Kingdom Hearts adaptation was in the works at Disney on April 26th. Oh my god! Oh, it's a good thing my review is all in my head. However, according to the Disinsider, nothing has been greenlit, so this may still be another animated Kingdom Hearts project that goes nowhere.
I hope it happens. It would be cool. The idea is cool, but I kind of cringe at the thought of playing a game. Because there's just so much of it.
Kingdom Hearts has been on my to-do list for quite a long time.
I got the collection a long time ago, and I made it somewhat decent enough way through the first game, and I got stuck it. And I was actually talking to a mutual friend recently, and he was like, actually, the first game's pretty long and dry. And the continuity doesn't make any sense, so just keep playing. You'll enjoy it. Trust me, it's fun.
Yeah, it's a weird series. This is really random, but a podcast I tried to shove down your fucking throat real bad for a while. Yes.
I don't remember this at all.
A while back, or still, I guess now, one of the podcasts that I really liked was the
Four Corner Pillar things?
The Four Pillars podcast, which was formerly the As Always podcast, or after, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to link their shit. Lasers and Dynamite, who, rest in peace, is no longer active on YouTube, was a group of dweebs I followed for the longest fucking time. Like, legit, they were like 10% of the Assassin's Creed fan base, like way back in the day. So I followed them for the longest time. I still am in their community now, but it's been a long time. It's shit's shifted as people get older. But they were really big Kingdom Hearts fans, and that was the primary driving reason I thought about getting into it, was because they were really, really fucking into it, and they'd talk about it all the time. A movie seems neat, I guess. Also, it would help condense it down for my stupid pea brain. Also, there was another rumor, which was not in this article because it wasn't substantiated, but somebody somewhere floated the idea that maybe it could be a hybrid animated live-action movie, which on the one hand sounds banger, because that's what the game is. It's Kingdom Hearts and Disney cartoons. But on the other hand, the only hybrid live-action animated movies we've had in the past 15 years have been Alvin and the fucking Chipmunks and the Smurfs, which are all garbage. But imagine Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but bring it into now, but with Donald Duck. That would be cool. I just don't trust. I don't trust.
I'm skipping the next one because you should read it. From Kotaku.com, El Paso Elsewhere, an indie third-person neo-noir shooter heavily inspired by Max Payne, is the latest video game getting a Hollywood adaptation. And while it's surprising to see a smaller indie game get a movie, El Paso Elsewhere is a perfect candidate for a film adaptation. Released in 2023, El Paso Elsewhere is a fantastic, moody, and action-packed indie shooter about a troubled, drug-addicted monster hunter, James Savage, who is forced to stop his ex-girlfriend, a powerful vampire, from destroying the entire world. But to do so, He has to journey through a nearly endless maze of strange, twisted versions of reality filled with monsters, demons, angels, and innocent people who need saving. To help save the day, and maybe himself, Savage has to use a lot of guns to kill everything in his way and reach his former lover before she ends the world using a powerful and dangerous ritual. As reported by Deadline, Lakeith Stanfield is in talks to star in and produce a feature film adaptation of El Paso Elsewhere. If Stanfield signs off, he will reportedly play James Savage in the movie.
So we actually, I'm pretty confident we covered this about a year and a half ago, because the game, we weren't there when it launched, but it got a lot of acclaim afterwards, and I think we reported on it. I think, don't quote me. But also, Max Payne, ooh woo, neo-noir, ooh woo woo woo. But also, Lakeith Stanfield's fucking awesome. So I'm very interested. That's what caught my attention. It wasn't like, oh, new video game, get movie, But he's fucking awesome. And this would be cool, I think.
Wow.
I don't know. It's nice when an actor is potentially signing on for a producing role, like Margot Robbie in a lot of her last few projects. It has a lot of creative control because she's cool and smart and knows shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's neat.
I'm getting the next one too. From Kotaku.com, the next game in Ubisoft's Prince of Persia series has been officially announced, and you may be surprised to see the studio behind it. The Rogue Prince of Persia will be developed by Dead Cells studio Evil Empire and will launch in early access on May 14th of this year. That's in like a week. Even less by the time this audio is actually released.
True.
That makes it the second game in the series to be released in 2024, with The Last Crown launching in January. The game brings a stylish new art direction and gameplay to the franchise, one of the many benefits of giving a non-Ubisoft studio a chance to make the IP. The upcoming game was announced at the end of the April 10th III Initiative Showcase, an event that would focus on upcoming indie projects. What III really means, I'm still not sure. It's clearly a play on AAA, which is how the industry refers to big budget games made by large teams at major studios. Interestingly, however, this indie showcase ended with a game published by the very large company Ubisoft, though it's being developed by a much smaller studio, Evil Empire. Interesting anyway, the Rogue Prince of Persia was revealed in a dazzling trailer that began as a beautifully animated scene that transitioned into showing off its still beautiful gameplay. It will be a 2D platformer in the vein of a classic Prince of Persia, but have Metroidvania and roguelite elements that should be familiar to those who have played the Dead Cells.
The trailer looks so fucking good.
It does look quite good.
It's also really cool that that Ubisoft is finally A, letting the franchise come back, and B, letting go of it and letting other people do it, because this will be 2 games in 1 year.
Ubisoft has that weird, it's technically indie but also owned by Ubisoft branch that's weird, but usually pumps out good games. So I don't know.
Cool.
The colors were very, very interesting in the trailer. They were very light and bright.
Shiny. Which contrasts pretty well with the other, what was that other one? I don't remember what the name was. The one that came out this year as well.
The Lost Crown.
Thank you. Which was very like purple and blue coated.
Is?
Yeah, that's cool. Also, just going back to 2D seems like a good idea.
It was like 2.5
yeah.
D, so this one is very much 2D.
Honestly, what 2D game isn't 2.5D these days?
This upcoming game, The Rogue Prince of Persia.
Also, I think the title's great.
All right, read the long ass one that tickles your balls.
Yeah. From PCGamer.com, in the recently released business review for January through March 2024, also known as Q1, Remedy CEO Tero Vertel wrote that although it had sold 1.3 million copies at the start of February, the company had only recouped a significant part of the marketing and development expenses for Alan Wake 2. The cum phrase. I do the cumming when I say the phrase, you know? You know how it is.
Read the thing.
A significant part, but not all. Vertala, that's such a weird name. Fucking Swedish people. Finnish? Whatever. They're weird.
You're being racist again.
I know, but they're white. It's fine. Let me have it. Pretty much reiterated that in a subsequent earnings call where he had mentioned that Remedy had experienced an operating loss of £2.1 million in Q1. No, that's euros, sorry. I'm still racist against Europeans. In Q1 2024, though it's worth mentioning the company did buy back Control at that time, which was a lot of money.
Yes.
Which is a shame, as Alan Wake 2 was undoubtedly one of the best games of 2023. I didn't write these words, the article did. And certainly deserved a quicker turn to profitability than it's apparently gotten. Vertala doesn't seem too pessimistic about it, though, at least, jeez, crap, words. Then again, things probably have to get quite bad for the CEO to start screaming the end is nigh in earnings calls. That's true. But also, editorialize your articles better. And notes that sales for the game have continued with a high average price. The game has yet to generate royalty revenue, in contrast with other Remedy games like Control and Alan Wake Remastered, both of which have contributed to Remedy's overall royalties growing year on year. I wouldn't necessarily worry about that one too much, though. Alan Wake Remastered went through the exact same thing in Q1 of the year following its release. On the whole, Remedy seems pretty buoyant about its future. Vertala dedicates a hefty chunk both of the business review and earnings call to talk up the possibilities opening up by acquiring the rights to Control, which means the company can now freely decide on the future of our two established franchises, Control and Alan Wake. Vertala says Remedy is currently exploring both self-publishing and partnered publishing for future games in each series. Vertala also provided status updates on the myriad projects Remedy has cooking. That's some random slang. Condor, the multiplayer Control spin-off, has moved to full production. Control 2 is hitting the end of the proof of concept stage. The Max Payne remakes are expected to hit full production in Q2 of this year. And the free-to-play multiplayer project Kestrel is still in concept stage. Where Alan Wake 3? Overall, things seem pretty solid. Overall, things seem pretty good, even if more people need to pick up Alan Wake 2 before it becomes profitable. Remedy expects that its revenue will increase and operating profit will improve for 2024, and will get more specific about that when the decision for the business model and the potential agreements for Control 2 and Condor have been made. There's a lot of words to say.
A lot of words.
The game is very popular, but it still hasn't made its money back yet because the thing was in production for 13 fucking years.
Yep.
The budget was huge, which is also impressive for not like a tiny studio, but comparably a fairly small studio.
It sold a lot of millions of copies too.
Yeah, so it's just genuinely. I think it's just the fact that it was in the oven for so fucking long. Like, not because they've been making prototypes all 13 years, but because they just kind of had people working on it forever, like in the back office for a long time until they had the technology to make the game. It makes sense that the thing cost a fucking fortune. Cool.
All right.
I like Control having a weird multiplayer spinoff. That seems cool.
Well, speaking of Alan Wake 2, because I have to do the segue. We're roughly an hour into the episode, considering edits and whatever. You have a 45-minute timer. Almost half the show. Are you ready?
Sure.
Gird up your loins. Go.
How long, lengthwise, is your house?
I don't remember. Why?
I just want an estimate.
I really don't know.
Do you think 50 feet seems reasonable?
I'd go 40.
Okay, 40 feet.
Oh no. Please don't disturb the neighbors.
I'm not going to disturb the neighbors. Oh my fucking god!
Wow. Your 45 minutes is up.
That would be accurate. Okay. So Alan Wake 2 came out last year in 2023, produced by Remedy, so on and so forth. It's been in production hell for about 10 years of the past 13 years, where a canonical 13 years have taken place since the most recent game. So you remember the reaction I had when I played the first game about 2 months ago?
Yes.
Whereas I played the game in one night because I realized that this is what I had been missing in my heart my entire life.
He's literally me, guys. He's me. That's him. He's me.
He is him, and I am he, yes. So I couldn't quite pull that off with this game, but admittedly, I had about the same size reaction while playing it. I could not play it all in one night, but the first night that I played it, I stayed up for about 10 hours straight.
It's true. I got home from work late at night, and he was like, that makes so much fun. And then I got up after sleeping my typical night's sleep, and he's like, it gets better. And I'm like, did you go to bed? He's like, no. I go work now.
Yes. Okay, I think I could fill about a 5-gallon bucket's worth of splooge about this, so I'm going to try to be kind to your ears. So, like I said, we find ourselves 13 years after Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which takes place shortly after the original game's events. Alan has been trapped in the dark place for said 13 years, kind of going in a circle, let's say. Many times over, having his memory erased, trying to get out, having his memory erased, and so on. Lots of weird shit happens in there. It's a whole other weird dimension of nightmare demon logic and dream logic and weird shit. We also follow Saga Anderson, whose last name should sound familiar to you, which, me speaking to Jacob now, as someone who's about, playing the game right now, you'll get to that eventually. Anderson, as a last name, should sound somewhat familiar from the first game. There's
Mr. Anderson.
Not that, but,
That's all I could think of when I was playing the game.
You'll get to that. You play also as Saga Anderson, who is the partner of Alex Casey, another name that should sound familiar, who is the real-life, sort of, version of the character that Alan wrote in his previous crime novels, Alex Casey. Sort of. It's complicated. They're two FBI federal agent people. They come to Night Springs, and weird shit happens. Kind of like the first game, but also not like the first game at all. So this is a survival horror game. It's much spookier than the first game. The first game was a fun, hard PG-13, goofy but also kind of spooky, lots of mythology type shit. This is just a straight up horror game. It's also goofy as fuck, but it is definitely a horror game. How many hours have you played, roughly?
1, 2.
You finished the first chapter, correct?
Yes.
So you got...
Don't worry about spoilers. I'm only half listening. Just go for it.
You got to the morgue.
Yes.
Okay. So after the opening of the game, where a bunch of cool shit happens, a very large shift happens in the world. I'm trying not to spoil it, one, because it's a new game, and two, because I think the twists actually work really well. So I don't want to ruin your brain. And the world changes, and then the vast majority of the game takes place alternating between two perspectives. Saga Anderson and Alan Wake. The guy. Him.
He's the guy.
He's him.
He's literally you.
And you switch between these two perspectives in a janitor's closet, because Ati, the janitor from Control, which is canonical to this universe, is in this game. He's great. I love him still.
Great guy.
Great guy. Weird fucking guy. But it's a cool... Excuse me. It is a cool gameplay element of the... I'd say... Jesus. Maybe 70% of the game between the opening and the epilogue take place non-chronologically. You can play them in any order. Whenever you find a janitor's closet, you can alternate between playing as Saga, who is in quote-unquote the real world, and Alan, who is quote-unquote in the dark place, sort of. And they don't take place at the same time, let's just say. So you get different story chunks, different lore tidbits in different orders depending on how you play the game, which is cool. It doesn't change the outcome, which is not disappointing, but it would have been cool. But I understand that would be really fucking complicated to have basically different endings that still amount to the same thing. But, I get it. That's a gameplay complication. So you can play the game in a different order, and you get a different, emotional experience out of it.
I just found a comic based on Silent Planet Super Bloom or something.
Send it to Colin right now.
I just did.
Nice.
And he's going to be like, no, Super Bloom is gay.
It's true.
I sent it to the both of you.
Thank you. Because I'm going to go look at it. I'm sure it's going to be good. Saga and Alan have different gameplay loops. Sort of. They're very similar. So, like I said, it is a survival horror game, so it takes place primarily over the shoulder, third person. A comparison, which I'm sure you can confirm because I haven't played this game. Almost everyone I saw on the Remedy and Alan Wake subreddits was basically saying the game plays like Resident Evil 2 Remake. Like, in terms of camera angle and inventory space. It's very similar.
Maybe, but I haven't gotten to, like, actually shooting anything yet. I shot the one guy the one time, and it was, like, scripted, so...
That's true. I'm sure you can confirm that for me later. I wouldn't know yet, but that does seem, based on the gameplay I've seen, to be a pretty apt comparison. So in Alan's segments, they're a lot more puzzle and mystery based. You, in the Dark Place, use your writer's room / like writer's wall. So there is a... You return to the cabin from the first game. Kind of, not really, because everything is loosey-goosey. And you can fuck around with your writer's shit. You're like, what about this scene in this context, in this location? And you can mix and match puzzle pieces to find new elements, to unlock new paths within the Dark Place, because, as you know, if you played the first game, the Dark Place and its emissaries, let's say, are receptive to art. Sort of. Which is really fucking cool during Alan's segments, because you're basically following 2 or 3 in-game storylines from Alan's perspective. It's complicated, Jacob. You'll get it when you hit it. You'll get it. So you're following multiple different stories from his perspective, which is really cool because there's a lot of that Control-esque. You know, when you call the hotline to the previous. What's the name?
The freaking head of the Control.
Yes. And you talk to dead people, basically.
Yep.
There's a very, very similar visual overlay of the events going on screen on top of the gameplay, and it's really fucking cool.
Yep.
Remedy's smart and cool like that. So that's pretty cool, because it just physically unlocks... Like, it's a puzzle game, kind of, during Alan's segments. There's still plenty of shooty bits, but it's more puzzle and story-based. During Saga Anderson, which I would argue is the majority of the game, maybe 2-1. Maybe it's just the gameplay that took me longer because I'm dumb, that takes place, quote-unquote, in the real world. You unravel a mystery in real time, sort of, about the nature of Night Springs, apparently your relationship with Night Springs, because apparently you've been here before, as well as Alex Casey's relationship to Alan Wake, and a bunch of other cool shit I don't want to spoil. It's a lot more horror gameplay focused during the Saga Anderson sections. It does use the same inventory system and mostly the same weapons and items, but they are used in slightly different ways, and also just Saga's world is much bigger, frankly. It's the real world, so logic isn't as soft. There's just a literal map, you know? Yeah. So you go to different sections while you unravel. I'm going to be so vague about this because I think the mystery is actually really fucking good. But you are there as an FBI agent because apparently there's been a bunch of murders that are similar to other murders you've been investigating, and that's sussy. And they somehow relate back to that weird, mysterious writer who went missing 13 years ago and stuff like that. So you discover, unearth a bunch of really cool clues and shit. Then the 2 timelines merge, sort of, kind of, at the end. I really don't want to say much more than that. The end of the game, in terms of a story structure perspective, emphasizes New Game Plus, which was not released on initial release. It was like a month or 2 afterwards. There is another version of the game called Final Draft, which is New Game Plus. You keep all of your inventory items, all your upgrades, and stuff like that, but the game restarts. There is an in-universe reason for that, which I want to say, but I think it's really fucking cool. Basically, when you hear it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna be insufferable. Yeah, so general narrative structure I think is handled really well. There is a level of freedom given to the player to explore the 2 different sides of the story. You do have to progress both of them to the same end destination by the time you get to the end of the game. You can't just only play half, but it does give you a lot of freedom. If you're feeling more puzzle-oriented or a little bit more action-oriented or a little bit more spoopy, a little bit more creepy, it gives you a level of choice, which I think is pretty well handled. Both do feel important on a narrative level. They're both really big lore dumps all the time. There's so much crap going on that while it didn't get out of hand for me, there was a few moments where I did actually put the game down and be like, I need to go take a pee because I have to think about this for a second to try to like digest information, which is pretty cool. I don't usually get mentally challenged by games. Like a puzzle game is one thing because it's a puzzle game and they're meant to make my brain hurt because I'm stupid. But frankly, on a narrative level, I don't usually get challenged by video games. They're not really meant for that. So I was actually pretty impressed with this. I was actively thinking about how X, Y, and Z components work together or didn't, whereas usually I can just attribute like, well, that's a paradox. That doesn't make sense to like a game being lazy. Most of the paradoxes and weird decisions in this game feel sensical if you're Sam Lake, the writer of the game. It feels like there's a logic to them, even if you don't understand it. So on Alan's side of gameplay, there's a lot of running around what is a drowned New York City, basically. It's in perpetual rain and night. It's very cool, because that's where he used to live when he was with his wife, my wife. Mm-hmm. So you go around the deserted streets of New York, searching for puzzles, clues, items, and fighting shadows, basically. There are Taken in this world of the Dark Place that are kind of like normal Taken, and then there are ones that are literal echoes. It's pretty cool as a stealth element. The game does have stealth, admittedly. For being a game... It's hard to describe. For a game that is very, like, canonically stealthy, you know, you're not, you know, in the... If you had to write down the events of the game on paper, objectively, it's not guns a-blazing. But it kind of is when it comes to gameplay because there's a level of flexibility to it. There aren't great stealth systems in place, but when you're Alan, let's say, you can turn your flashlight off, walk around slowly, and there are some shadows that you'll hear whisper in your ear. They'll get up in your face, but they don't do anything. And maybe every 1 in 4, 1 in 5, one of them is a real Taken, and it'll fucking clock you, which is really cool. It does add a level of tension, but it also makes it more creepy and less scary, if that makes any semblance of sense. Because they're shadows, they're big blobs. They look like people. There isn't a lot of gore to it, and a lot of them are just kind of being weird and whispering Alan, Alan in your ear and being annoying. And then sometimes if you run too quickly or you shine your flashlight everywhere, more of them will become real, and then you have to fight them. Whereas in comparison to the stealth, sort of, in Saga Anderson's side of the game, it's a lot more literal. You need to turn your flashlight off so the Taken don't stare at you and see your eyeballs and then run at you. I don't really know, frankly, if it's a stealth system. It's not that deep, but it does work. I still played the game mostly guns blazing because it's fun, frankly. I can't deny it. But there are a lot of Taken everywhere. They are, you know, as the Taken are in the first game, residents of Night Springs that are taken over by dark shit. It's complicated, don't ask me. There's maybe 5 or 6 like base models, basically. Most of them act very similar, but they do have slightly different behavioral patterns and skins, literally. They boil down the types of Taken from the first game into more, I'd say, digestible archetypes. While not it feels less video gaming, I guess is a good way to put it. Whereas the first game, you have your normal Taken, you have your fast and fragile Taken, you have your mega fast, super ultra Taken, and then you have your big chunky boys. This one, they do fall into the same types of archetypes, but I feel like the damage numbers are more relative to each other, and they change up the way, say, that the speedy characters work. It feels a lot less chess piece, I guess, if that makes sense, which is usually something I like when they're more Halo, Doom-esque. But I think it works pretty well as you're a FBI agent fighting off basically zombies in the woods. It makes more sense that they'd be kind of more close to each other in terms of like damage numbers and stuff. Also, they're really fucking gory. Now that there's technology and the game is rated mature, these fuckers are like actual deadites. Whereas in the first game, the deadites from Evil Dead felt like a reference. This is just, they're deadites. Frankly, it's really fucking obvious. They're just as quippy as they are in the first game, and they're way more scary. They will get up in your face. They run really quickly, which is mostly due to the difference in camera perspective. They're both third-person games, but this one is locked to your shoulder, so you can't, say, turn around and face the camera. Whereas in the first game, because it was an action-adventure game, you could do that. It's a minor difference that does a lot for gameplay. It feels not sluggish, but a lot more... just less gamey, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to describe. And they run and scream at you. They have kind of glowing eyes. And then you can shoot a shotgun in their face and blow off half their face, where you see the skin and the muscle and the blood just leave their head. It's disgusting. And pretty funny. But it's also gross. It really, really balances the horror and comedy of it, like Evil Dead 2, which is cool. Sound design on that level, because it mostly plays into stealth, is pretty fucking great. I played this almost the entire way through with headphones at night multiple times because I'm dumb and I like peeing myself, apparently. So there's a lot of really good directional audio in terms of, enemy footsteps, dialogue, so on. That stuff is all really well done. There's a lot of debris and rocks and stuff, like contextual footstep noises, which sounds basic, but a lot of games actually get away with like 2 footstep noises of like, is the ground dry or is the ground wet? Whereas this one, it's like, is it gravel? Is it dirt? Is it grass? Is it wet? Is it dry? Is it swampy? There's a lot more variables, which also helps in finding enemies, because if they start charging towards you, you might not be able to see them, because graphically speaking, this game is fucking flawless. It's terrifying. I don't think I've seen many games that are comparable. Maybe Resident Evil 7 on release felt close, not stylistically, but in terms of like graphical fidelity. The blacks in this game are black and the whites are white. That is not a racial thing. That is a color theory thing. This is not some Marvel movie gray sludge problem. When you look into the pitch black with your flashlight off, you can't see shit. But it's kind of just enough of not seeing shit where you might be able to stumble around if you're stupid. Like, if you turn your flashlight off on accident, you can kind of keep moving around. It doesn't feel like the game prohibits you from making certain choices. You're just a fucking idiot for making them. Like turning your flashlight off in the middle of the night. So using audio cues in terms of enemy placement and enemy types, because they have different lines of dialogue and stuff like that, is really, really cool. Also, a lot of the jump scares are audio-based. One of my half-hearted criticisms of this game is most of the scares are jump scares. I think they're really good, but they are still jump scares. But also, it's a video game, so what else are you expecting? I don't know any video game that is a horror, like a straight-up horror game that doesn't have jump scares in it, As someone who usually whines about this, like outside of like Iron Lung or whatever, nothing gets you without doing a bit of jump scare shenanigans. But for the most part, they're really well handled. There are some that are cheap, but the vast majority of them are pretty good misdirections, and then followed up by a follow-through, or just straight up fucking shit comes up behind you and says, oh, which got me a lot because I'm a chicken. So the audio made me pee myself because I was wearing headphones at night in the dark, and then a Taken comes up behind me and says some stupid line and then tries to like eat my face. It's terrifying. Graphically speaking as well, there were some bugs I had with this. There was a bit of pop-in. I played the majority of my first playthrough on performance settings on my Xbox Series X, and then on my second playthrough, I swapped over to like graphical pretty settings.
Quality,
yeah. And they're different, but I frankly have difficulty telling the difference because I'm just not that technologically savvy. Obviously, the big one is it drops the frame rate down to lock it at 30, and then it updates, it pushes the graphical quality to a solid 4K, which is cool because I was playing it on a 4K TV with my shiny console. But in both versions, there was about an equal amount of pop-in, only of like grass and stuff, so it wasn't really distracting or even bad. It's just kind of almost impressively simple that that's something they couldn't really get a hold on. But to be fair, there's so much grass in this game that I can't really blame them for having difficulties with it. I get it. It never distracted me from gameplay or made me think, oh no, this needed more polish. I don't think you could get much more polish than this. Any graphical difficulties, which were pretty much the only technical problems I had, felt like kind of inevitable because the game is so big and so pretty. Like, I can't really complain about it. Like, I noticed some stuff, but I just couldn't really say much else about it. It's nigh photorealistic, which is phenomenal. Especially because Remedy takes a lot of cues from their more recent games. Like I talked about for my review of Alan Wake's American Nightmare, there's a lot of live action and animated segments kind of smushed together and stuff. In this game, they take it to the highest heights they've ever gone before, whereas about 50% of the cutscenes are just live action directed segments. Unlike in Quantum Break, they're not just like random episodes of TV intercutting with the gameplay. They're just really, really well directed cutscenes that feel like the game, with the same costumes, same actors, same voices, and so on, which is really cool. More than anything else, I think I respect it on the level of the actors and the voice actors being so multi-talented to be able to, here's your $100,000 for the year. We need you to do live action segments, voice segments. We need you to wear a bunch of costumes. We need you to do a bunch of dances. I'm not gonna elaborate on the dancing any further. Like, that's really cool. I don't know. There's something about that appeals to me on like a very human level of being like a jack of all trades type thing. Like, as an artist, being like a theater trained, I can do song, I can do dance, I can do acting, the whole gambit, which is pretty cool. The cutscenes that are animated are directed nearly identically to the live action ones, which I was really impressed by. The amount of sets that they made for these were off the charts. Also, just the in-engine pre-rendered cutscenes were all really well done. Unlike, say, for example, a Ubisoft Assassin's Creed game, where a lot of the dialogue scenes are like shoulder to shoulder, mid-depth, like just reverse shot, back and forth forever. A lot of these are really dynamically shot, or they just allow you to free roam during a conversation, which is pretty cool. So say you as Saga come up to Alex Casey after the events of a certain whatever, and you're talking about stuff which you have to do for story progression. It'll just kind of let you wander around the room. I prefer that option to like locking you in place and then you just spam the skip dialogue option, because it actually makes me want to listen to the dialogue and the performances, which is cool because you can't skip any of it. So you may as well enjoy it. And it made me actually want to listen, which is cool. Both gameplay types, I guess, or sections, Alan and Saga's have collectibles. Both of them have manuscript pages. Saga also has lunch boxes, which are weird. They have weapon upgrade points, which upgrade your weapons. Duh. They're basically little pep talks from a character that I won't say which one. It's a mystery. There's also weird puzzles because the Bureau for... Yeah, FBC. Federal Bureau of Control from Control are very relevant to this game, and they're conducting experiments around the area for reasons, and they're weird nursery rhyme puzzle things, which are fucking creepy, but also really cool. I really, really like those. They're also pretty easy, but they don't seem mindless. They just aren't like big stumpers, which is pretty cool. There's also... just a shit ton of general, munitions boxes, first aid kits, stuff like that. There's also a lot of just side achievements that aren't related to any specific gameplay things, but like there's a part of the game where you go to a coffee-themed amusement park. Jacob, you'll love that. Where there's an achievement for like shooting one of a certain type of stand-up. You'd only know about it if you check the achievement list, but like stuff like that does help. Whereas it's not just in the game it rewards you for doing stuff, but there's also the external achievement list element, which is cool. And then there's just your usual finding new weapons and upgrading them, and then ammo seems to be 50% relative. So say like in I believe I said for American Nightmare, it seems like there's like two types of ammo that are interchangeable. So if you pick up a rifle or a shotgun, that box of ammunition on that table will just be whatever it is for that gun type, like long gun or handgun, whatever it is. You have different types of handguns, you have different types of long guns, it works, but it's also not completely universal ammo like Dead Space 3, where it just kind of loses all impact. I think it's about 50-50 for this one. There's a lot of ammo that definitely seems specifically placed, especially early on in the game, of like, you're probably not going to have, a crossbow yet or whatever. You have a handgun, so you need handgun ammo. But every once in a while, it'll just kind of throw an oddball at you. Sometimes it'll preface X, Y, and Z new weapon by giving you ammo for it first, and you're like, oh shit, there's a side-by-side shotgun in this game. That's fucking cool. And then like 20 minutes later you find it, which is cool. All of the weapons are pretty well balanced, in my opinion. There are maybe 8 in total, something along those lines. There's a lot of crossover between Saga and Alan, but I do think they actually found a really cool way of using a lot of American Nightmare's gameplay elements for this game. I was saying it when I was playing American Nightmare, and I really feel it now. Whereas in that game, you started off with a semi-automatic handgun, and you could switch back to the revolver from the first game, basically. This game, in 2, Alan has a handgun, has a revolver, and Saga has a handgun, because she's a Fed. And it makes the gameplay just a little bit more unique on each end, whereas they have specific weapons. There are, say, shotguns for both of them, but they're different types of shotguns that do different things, which is pretty cool. I just thought that was neat. There are obviously manuscript pages everywhere. That's a very relevant story element. I don't remember the specific number of them. There also isn't an achievement that I remember, at least, that you get for collecting every single manuscript. I might be wrong, but it does take a slightly different approach than the first game, whereas the first game was kind of like a completionist type, get all of them. This one has, I think, the same amount, or in the same ballpark. But it's a lot more, if you really want the lore, you should get the manuscript pages, because a lot more shit will make sense. The way that they're portrayed is also very cool. Like the first game, say you'd get a manuscript page, Alan would then read it to you, while the page kind of sits in front of you, like on its typewriter look, whatever. American Nightmare did kind of like a halfway point between the two games, and then in this one, as you're walking around as Saga, you can pick up a manuscript page and either read it yourself as like a text-based on-screen thing you can scroll through, or you have Alan Wake's voice actor read it to you while a cutscene plays, which is incredibly fucking amazing. It's really cool. He also, I did mention this to you off air again. There are in-universe justifications for why Saga Anderson can shoot, like, say, 2 crossbow bolts without reloading. For all the gun upgrades, it'll play like the same type of cutscene of Alan writing it into existence, and it's incredibly goofy, and I fucking love it. It's like, Saga drew her gun, and then she shot 17 shots. Wait, my magazine wasn't that big? Oh no, magic happens, or whatever. It's so fucking goofy, and I love it. It's smelling its own farts, but it's looking at you while it does it, and it's like, this is dumb. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyways.
15 minutes.
Okay. I'm almost done, actually. Inside of the dark place, the mysteries that you unfold are, I think, more engaging for me, or at least they were for me. One of them follows Alan's wife, Alice, on the outside, the real world, following up with her from the events of the first game, which was kind of heartbreaking, to be honest. It's really well handled. I'm going to spoil one thing for you. No, I want you to know about it. It's not like a spoiler. Shut up. So there are the primary like jump scare mechanism of the game is a black and white smoky flash in front of the screen and a face. Typically, it's Scratch, Alan's alter ego, bad side, weird thing, whatever. You know that the thing that happens when most of the jump scares happen. There's a little and it does the thing. It's different characters during different times. There is an in-universe justification for it because that is how Alice was capturing her nightmares on film. And it's so fucking cool. And I love it. That's not all the detail to it. There's more, but that's all you need. I really like that. While it is a cheap jump scare mechanic, it feels really well thought out because it's dependent on the sequence of events, what characters you're fighting, where you are, who you're playing as, And that adds a lot to it. It'll just be different. And also, even the timing is different. Some of them are 3 frames, and some of them are like you lock eyes as the player with the person screaming at you on the screen, and then it turns off. Like there's a lot of interplay with that, which I thought was really, really well thought out. At first, it annoyed me, and then as the game went on, I kind of nutted over it because I thought it was fucking genius. The conclusion-ish of the story, again, speaking very vaguely, is the intersecting of these 2 characters and their 2 gameplay types, as well as their chronological storylines. It's weird. There are some difficulties with it, admittedly, but I think the biggest twist, I guess, or the primary plot twist, I think works pretty well. Even if you see it coming, I think it's worth revisiting. Because the game encourages you to take a second playthrough, you can pick up on a lot more subtext of what's going on. Also, just because you're not as confused. You're able to just absorb more information. But the final boss is kind of disappointing. I'm not going to tell you what it is or who it is, but the final boss is fine. I had fun doing it, but it was not like... For the story climax, it was a very emotional, cool, woo type moment, but the gameplay didn't quite match it. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't really hard. It was just a little frustrating, which is fine. Like, out of all the criticisms, it's pretty fucking minor, because it's like 30 minutes of gameplay.
That's how I felt about the last boss fight in Resident Evil 4. It's a big tentacle-y thing with eyes all over it. Just like any other Resident Evil final boss. You shoot the eyes, it goes, ah! And grows more eyes, and that's 3 stages of that, it's dead.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It's definitely more in-depth than that, but it's also... It's just hard to describe. I think you'll get it when you play it. I just don't have the words to say it without spoiling anything.
Right.
It's still solid. It's just not great. We're not talking like Deathstroke and Arkham Origins level of retardedly frustrating, type shit. It's just fine. The story also ends on a cliffhanger, kind of like the first game. I'd say 10% more cliffhanger than the first game because they fucking know and they're smug. They know they're going to make another one. And also they know it connects now to their other series, or will be soon a series of very popular games, Control, which is pretty cool. The ending made me go, and then text you and lose my fucking shit. So,
yep.
It had a really cool impact. I don't think it's necessarily the impact it was necessarily aiming for. It, let's say, mirrors the first game, and I think it doesn't get the same kick as the first game does as an ending, but I think with the additional context of a second playthrough in Final Draft mode, it works really well. It sticks with me more. Whereas the first game, it had the line, it's not a lake, it's an ocean, which is a banger line, which a lot of people knew about in general pop culture, except me apparently, even without playing the game, but it also didn't make a lot of sense. It's a really vague line that only makes sense now that they've expanded on the concept so much. The ending of this game has a similar line that mirrors the same structure, which is really obvious. As soon as they start saying it, you're like, wow, that's a reference to the first game, but also makes way more fucking sense. And as soon as you start playing the second playthrough, you're like, oh shit. And that's cool. New Game Plus mode is Final Draft. Like I said, it was released a little bit after launch. It's good, it's not great. Because the first 4 hours of the game are arguably still the tutorial, which is a little frustrating. You don't get your weapons or upgrades back for a while, but once you do, it's good. The difficulty is, I think, a little bit harder no matter what difficulty you choose. So on the regular game, there's easy, normal, and then once you've played through once, you unlock nightmare mode, which is hard, and then you can choose Final Draft in any difficulty. I think it works better than the original game's version of... It was like... the original version of Alan Wake was like easy, normal, and then nightmare, and then New Game Plus. It was weird. It was kind of confusing. This one I think works better, but also nightmare mode isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It's hard, but If you've played another survival horror game with an inventory management system, I don't think it's going to be that hard for you, which is fine. It's not really a complaint. It's just not like, oh, it's impossible. It's not like playing like Super Meat Boy on impossible mode type, like you'll never do. It's like I did it without much effort. It's just harder. But also having all your new weapons is cool. There's also some slight modifications because it is a final draft of the story, because Alan Wake's a writer, you get it.
Is he?
It's a gameplay mechanic. So there's some slight differences in this version of New Game Plus, maybe 5% in total. It's not a lot. I noticed most of them, but say there are some dialogue choices that are a little some dialogue that's a little different. Some cutscenes are a little different. It mostly seems like alternate takes of stuff, and they just kind of wanted to justify using it, which is fine. I respect it. There's a few decent changes that I can't really get into because they're all spoilery. And then the game has a second ending in Final Draft mode, which is a second post-credit scene, which makes a lot more fucking sense, and it's a lot more satisfying, which I think was worth the gameplay. The other primary difference in Final Draft mode is something that I didn't mention, and I didn't mention at all, but I should now mention, is when you play... The flip side of playing Alan Wake's Writer's Room is Saga Anderson's Mind Place, which is a play on Mind Palace, the brain technique, and it's your detective wall. It's a really relevant gameplay mechanic, but I also don't have a lot of thoughts on it. It's the only part of the game I actually have a genuine criticism of. It's really shallow. It's really fucking fun to do the detective shit where you put the photos on the wall and you connect them with the string, and it makes my brain go nutty. But also, you can only put them up in one way. There's no making wrong decisions in this game on that front, which is kind of disappointing. It's not bad. It's just kind of annoying, because you can kind of just spam putting stuff up on the wall until you find the right spot, and it doesn't make you think about it too much. But a lot of those options are also changed in Final Draft mode. It doesn't change the outcome. It just means it's like this other fictional fake photo we took in gameplay is a little different, or the scribbles on it are different, which is neat. It's just not a lot. Also, the Mind Place is very relevant during the final act of the game. There is a segment you play as Saga, which I will not elaborate on further, which has genuinely the freakiest scare in the game. It's so goofy in retrospect, but it got me so bad. You'll know it when you hit it, that's for sure. It's right near the end. It's just you're doing stuff, and some stuff it's just oof, 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 oof. Okay. Final thoughts. I feel like this is a better game than Alan Wake. This is absolutely my game of the year 2023. This is better than Dead Space Remake. 100%. If I played more games, it would still probably be on the top. But there are some things it does that are not original. Not that inherently is a bad thing, but there are a lot of either gameplay elements or certain mannerisms of the game, I guess, that are very clearly inspired by other things, which the first game also had a problem with, not in gameplay, but in story, whereas the first game was really heavily Stephen King, Twin Peaks, Stephen King. Alan Wake 2 is also Twin Peaks, but Twin Peaks The Return, the new shit, which is great. Also still Stephen King, more Evil Dead, whatever, but a lot of the gameplay takes heavier inspiration from like I said, Resident Evil Remake and just other horror survival. I think it's great, but the gameplay experience of 1 is more novel. I don't really want to get into the nitty-gritty of how that actually works, because I feel like that's because beating a dead horse. You already can get the difference. You've played enough of it to get it. Like how the flashlight works is different, like all that stuff. But I feel like the first game is more of like this is a really unique experience. It's not the most in-depth, it's not the most balanced, but it is really unique. It hits a really weird spot of, I know nothing else plays like this. Whereas this game, there are things that play similar to it, but what it does with the collective sum of its parts, I think, is way beyond the math of the sum of its parts, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I have criticisms, but I don't even give a shit. They're there. They're worth noting. This game changed my life. I'm not even lying. I don't know why I said it in a fake voice. It's just this game altered my brain chemistry. So my first run through. Holy fuck, I'm tired. My first playthrough. Yeah, jeez, I'm crow. My first playthrough was 23 hours, I believe, and then my second playthrough on Nightmare and on Final Draft mode was 28, I believe. A lot of it was faster because I then got 100% on that Final Draft on Nightmare, which was great because I'm so cool and smart, because I knew where a lot of the shit was, but also it was harder. But also I was kind of speedrunning half of it. I wanted to pay attention to the details that were different on Final Draft mode, but there's some bits I just had an intuitive gut feeling that would be the same. The biggest change on that one is a lot of the timing of the jump scares is different, which is cool actually, because then you're playing, it's the same deer jumps in front of your face and freaks you the fuck out, but the timing is different, so it does still kind of get you, which I thought was a pretty neat little, you might not notice, but if you were paying a lot of attention or you played it immediately after your first playthrough, you'll definitely know, like, oh, that got me again, because they just timed it differently, which is cool.
Very good.
I bought the deluxe edition, which includes the pass for the 2 DLC expansions, which are not out yet. I believe they're both planned to be out by the end of this year. I will, of course, talk about them during a happy hour. I bought it for full price, basically. It costs $60 for the regular game because Remedy is owned by Epic Games, which is gay. But Epic Games doesn't want to do physical game releases anymore. They don't like discs because they're gay. So Remedy said, if we don't do a disc, you have to charge $60 now instead of $70 because the new kind of standard game price is $70, which was neat. And then it's another $20 for the DLCs, which is totally reasonable. But because I'm smart, I used all my Bing rewards points and another Xbox gift certificate I had lying around to cover the $20 for the deluxe edition. So I still paid $60 for this whole thing, but like, it's fine. I just missed a sale. There was a great sale of like 30% off. I bought it a day later. I'm stupid. I'm just dumb. It's fine.
I got my deluxe for $63 because it was on sale.
Other than that, the deluxe edition also includes a couple of like alternate skins for both characters.
Which I immediately applied.
I didn't actually. I don't like them. And there's also like the only other option, so I don't know why they even bothered.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make me upset. It's just like, did Epic make you do this?
Yeah.
You know? Because you can't buy them anywhere else, and there are no other skins in game.
Right.
It's not like you discover weapon skins or anything. That's just not a part of the game. So, I don't know.
I know.
Oh! I lost my marbles. That's as polite as I can be about it.
He only had 2 marbles left, and he lost them both.
I did. They fell out of both ears.
Thank you for listening. Please go to patreon.com/dimecomicbros and subscribe under one of the tiers that you find there, just like our friends Jeff Lawrence and Caitlin. They give us money. We appreciate the money. The money helps run the show every single week, except for last week where we skipped.
Oops.
We give our money to Jetpack Comics and Games. There was a police report on the Rochester Facebook page this very, very morning, that said there was a fight outside Jetpack 2 hours before Jetpack was open, and that a guy went flying through the window. And this was news to Jetpack themselves.
It was a lie.
And they went screaming through town and found out that it was not actually a Jetpack window that the guy went flying through.
It was across the street.
It was across the street. But still, it was funny.
I still think they wanted to steal the gay Boba Fett that's in the window.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jetpack takes all our money. We give it to them willingly. You should shop locally at Jetpack. They have video games there. They have a Walking Dead pinball game there, and a
Marvel vs. Capcom
3, I think.
Yeah. Arcade cabinet.
Have you played any of the Marvel vs. Capcom?
I haven't.
I think I have 3 on the PlayStation. I don't know. I think I tried it. There was like no story mode. It's legit just versus. It's like, well, I don't have people here to punch all the time.
Yeah.
That's lame. Next month, Spencer and I are sharing Resident Evil 5 because it's more enjoyable in co-op than in single player, which does not mean it's a fun game, but it's more enjoyable.
We've also been streaming it on Jacob's Twitch channel.
Yes.
HM Murdoch, but with a 0 for the O.
HMMURD0RCH.
Because he's cool like that.
MMURDOCD0CH. Whatever.
Not because you're smart like that.
It's linked.
Yes. Jacob randomly pops up over there only late at night and only when it's inconvenient for everyone in the world to listen.
Tuesday nights at 11:30 at night. And I'll stream for like an hour and then get pissed off.
True. But if you ever see that he's live or we're live, you should go harass us and pop up in chat and say something obscene.
Spicy.
Yes.
Yes.
It's usually a lot of us swearing. Or him swearing. I mean, you don't swear as much. When I'm here, you swear more. Because you're trying to communicate with me on my level.
You're a bad influence. I'm trying to get through the monkey brain